You're now rocking with your Uncle Luke podcast, where you can get it straight from your uncle himself, raw and uncut.
Today we got a special guest, former NBA player, Craig Hodges.
So let's hop on into it. Like I say, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast. It's more than an honor. I remember meeting you years and years ago. I remember this brother with the dashiki on. And we sat down and I don't know if you remember, we sat down and had a nice little powwow. And I just, I've always been a fan, number one, of your basketball play, but I've been more of a fan of the things that you've done for the community and the things that you stood for and the things that you stand for today. And
yes,
so I'm just honored to be able to have you come on here and we just sit in, chop it up, talk about all different types of things.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, brother, and thank God for this opportunity, man, and hope all is well with everybody that's watching and listening, man.
Yeah, I mean, we are in a pandemic and we are in a movement. So talk about this movement. I mean, you coming from the civil rights era, like myself, and the struggles that we know that African American communities have went through those years to right now. What's your impression of everything that's going on?
Well, like I just said, man, for me, we seeing deliverance, man. We're at that point of, where the ancestral deliverance and ancestral divine inheritance is ours now, and that we're free. We're literally free for the first time in our existence on these shores, man, and that we can tell by just the actions of, Anglos who are now not really knowing how to deal with Black people really on the level, because they've been blindsided so much. So we talk about the miseducation of the Negro, miseducation of white people has been even more so. So now it's almost, with the pandemic, having everyone to be quarantined, and then the murders of the brothers and sister, and it's just been a overwhelming energy. And the energy to me is likened to when Dr. King was killed, literally, when we was little boys and seeing that energy, and then seeing it play out through the movement. And as far as us being able, I'm from Chicago Heights, and the stuff that we were able to do as a baby, to watch my mom, who was the secretary of the movement, and to see live leadership at that time, and to see the things that actually happened through people energy, and to know that it was plausible then, and it's even more possible now because of where we are in this day and time, and the resources that we have with the people now.
So you said your mom was secretary of the movement. Which movement?
It was an organization called SOCA, Steering Organization for Coordinating Community Action, and we were the South Suburban chapter of SELC, which was Dr. King's organization. So my mom was at the march and with Dr. King when he came to Chicago, as well as the march on Washington. So for me, it was one of those things that it was in my household. My granddad and my uncles taught me the sports end of it. My mom was on the social end of it, and her sisters and my sister, they taught me how to read and write before I even went to school. So it was a perfect storm for me, a household that taught me how to be a student athlete. So when I got a chance to go to Long Beach State and study, under Dr. Karinga, founder of Kwanzaa, Dr. Khalid Muhammad, I was blessed, man, to have had mentors who taught me the importance of utilizing whatever God-given talents you had to uplift your people, and that you can never. So like now, when I'm looking at whether or not we're going to go play, it's funny to me. So when I was my son hit me to what you did the other day, and he showed it to me, and it was like how cut and dry it is when we look at it. But to see that someone, when I'm listening to Stephen A. Smith, and I'm seeing you talk about this thing as though there's an option, it's ludicrous to me, man.
Yeah, and let me tell you, when the whole part of anything that comes out where it becomes a conversation about the African American man, Colin Kaepernick going back, I always think about you. in my mind, in my generation, you've been the first outspoken athlete in my generation. I know there were, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and there was Jim Brown and Muhammad Ali and all that. But for my era of athletes, I always looked at you as being the first outspoken person. So when things like this happen, and go on, I automatically think about you. And I was having a conversation with Dwight Howard the other day, and the same thing. And he saw me do a Instagram live. He jumped on, and then we had a little dialogue afterwards. And I just was hearing Craig Hodges so much in his voice. The Craig Hodges that I grew to like when I heard that Craig Hodges stood up to Michael Jordan because he felt like Nike should have been doing more in the African American community, selling the shoes, and they're getting it. I remember that story. Can you talk about that story?
And that's I'm glad you reached out for Dwight, man. I did the same because it's we have to stand together, man, and truth doesn't have to be verified at all. We just have to stand on it, and I think the stance that he took, and for me, like you said, we were blessed to see Muhammad Ali, we were blessed to see Jim Brown, Kurt Flood, but once again, like you say, they were our elders even at that period of time. And then in the 90s, it was one of those things that coming out of 1979 when the NCAA had the finals with Bird and Magic, it was great for the NBA in as far as they were coming off of a marketing downturn because the league was so black, to the point that many talked about the NBA meaning nothing but Africans and the New York Knickerbockers because they were all black squads. So when Bird and Magic came out, it was a perfect thing for marketing where you had the black and white, where now you can have the good and the evil type of situation. It was really one of the first times that athletes were branded. And athletes basically in the 90s took a position where everything is going to be fostered to making our sport better, growing our sport, growing the brand of NBA, growing the brand of National Football League, baseball, whatever. And then Michael comes along and he's modeled as a team athlete, but they're going to market him as an individual. And that was the first time in a collective sport that was done. And what it did was it took the game to a whole different level where now branding and marketing became more important than basically winning. And if you happen to win, but that's cool. But if not, you're still able to get your off-court stuff going on. And my position was then and is now is that most of these companies that we endorse, they don't do business with us. Definitely don't hire us. So when Michael was about to sign this deal that he has with Nike now, is probably 88, 89 or somewhere in there, I asked him about us being able to open these same manufacturing plants in America because we could get a plant in any city in America for $1. We could get the means of production from Asia, and the rubber comes from Africa. So, and you can't tell me that there's not brothers standing on the corner slinging dope that wouldn't be willing to sling your shoe. So it's a natural. And like now, it's one of those things. I was speaking to the brother earlier before we got on about, if the brothers would have been able to not go play in the NBA right now, then we would have the means to ask the sisters not to go to work in the cities on Monday. So now we have a unity of purpose in our approach that all the energy, if we stop and we think, all of the energy in America is derived from black people. So if I'm sitting in the city of Chicago right now in the south suburbs, if sisters didn't get on the train in the south suburbs and go to downtown Chicago, if they didn't get on the train from the west side of Chicago and go to downtown Chicago, the Loop, Chicago's main hub of business and commerce for not only Chicago, but internationally, it would come to a stop. And that's all over America. So it doesn't surprise me that the media highlights the murder of black men, but they so readily want to get the murder of black women off the page because they understand that we are considered the power of our people. But they know that the rolling organizational force has always been the black woman in America, whether we go back to plantation times. Whoever's cooking your food and feeding you, they running.
whoever exactly.
That's it.
whoever cooking the food, they definitely running the house. My mom always told my nieces that, hey, look, you cooking the food, you run the house. Man gonna come back all the time. So I found that conversation to be, I sat there and I, like most people in America, and they looked at the Last Dance, and I looked at the program for that. I was like, okay, I don't know what's going to happen in the next episode. I don't know what's going to happen in the next episode. But I sat there and I told my wife and the family members, whoever was over, viewing the show, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to sit here and I'm waiting for the Craig Hodges part because I know they just not going to go and just have the Last Dance without having the Craig Hodges part, because I thought that was so significant.
Yeah, man.
And so when I looked at it, I said, okay, here's the Steve Kerr incident. So I'm looking at that. Okay, where's Craig Hodges? So now we're gonna see the pushback of the players, and of the guy who seemed like a bully, and I want to see the Craig Hodges when Craig Hodges stepped to him and was like, okay, here's the deal, and I didn't see that.
And for me, it was like, I didn't even know it was coming out. My son told me about a week earlier. He's like, yeah, man, The Last Dance is coming out, MJ. I'm like, I wonder why they call it The Last Dance, not knowing. And then when I saw it, I understand how Phil always has a mantra for every season. So I understood that at that point. But then I thought about it. I was like, man, I started to look into the background of it. Y'all filmed it over 20 years ago. Then my mind went to where we are today. We are in the midst of a pandemic. Black people are dying at numbers untold. And then we bring out our Black icon to calm us down and to get us not to continue to look into what our issues are on a real level, because the quarantine has allowed us to study, if nothing else. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why white people have been so agitated, because you haven't been able to go nowhere and you've had to stop and look at this Black condition that you've been so conditioned not to look at. Now you gotta check it out. And now what I love about it is that it's the young white folks that's going back home asking mom and daddy, man, what y'all was watching this 20 years ago? Y'all was watching this 30 years ago. You in a corporate situation, and your corporation are the very ones who are continuing to perpetuate this racist movement, and I ain't with that. So I'm gonna go all the way to the other end, and I'm gonna go grunge factor. And y'all really not gonna like who I am as an individual, but me and my spirit, I'm content to know that I'm working on behalf of what's right. And that's the part where, if nothing else about what's happening right now, man, for us as a people, is that we know this, that the lynching and the sacrifices that were made by our ancestors, you and I, we don't really deserve what's coming, because we didn't suffer the way they suffered. But through their suffering, we're blessed to be able to define what these next generations are going to look like. And that's the part that I was so disappointed in the brotherhood, where I'm listening to Stephen A. talking about us leaving money on the table. And I say, brother, at which point in time is courage and dignity and honor more important than money? And that you're going to say to the rank and file of Black people, because this media is so large that you come across, he said this, and I quote, it was like this yesterday, it's like this today, it's going to be like this tomorrow, it's going to be like this 10 years from now. And I say, whoa, man, I got grandbabies. I don't want my grandbabies. I'm not going to allow my grandbabies to come in under this. Now, if me and you, we got to fight on your behalf like always, then we going to do that. But let you know that that media structure that you under ain't going to exist much longer in that manner, because we got brothers like you and brothers like Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes. And that's the part of me that's saying, man, if we only see that if brothers come out of basketball, you can create a whole new media industry through our own stuff. And now, what would happen to the NBAs if the brothers didn't go play? What would happen to their television rights? If they tear up the collective bargaining agreement, that would be a boom for Black people. But honestly, because that would almost take us back to that point before Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. And now we're able to produce all of these industries off of our talented people. And that's the part where I say the sisters are the ones who are the real dynamic portion in this, because they are being returned and restored to who they were in the original part of this thing. And the white power structure, they know that. They know that better than we know that. So they put us all our, LeBron James. Man, look, look. 10 sisters that go to work on Monday in 10 cities across America have more power than LeBron James and all of us put together. Believe me, you know it and I know it.
Yes, no question about it. I mean, it's ironic that you say that. That's always been the driving force of the African American community is the sisters, is the queens.
Think about this. Maya Moore quit the WNBA to stand up for our folks, and our brothers can't follow that lead. That's letting
crazy.
Us know.
That's
letting us know. That's letting us know, brother. Man, because see, like with me, okay, when, I tell people that when I went to the White House and I give Bush a letter, I'm not thinking I ain't going to be able to hoop in 12 months. I'm not thinking that. I'm thinking that this thing is, we grew up in America. We grew up in this democratic system. Those of us who are athletes have conformed more. I tell people Michael Jordan was cold, but we got brothers who are winos on the corner sniffing cane that's hooping harder than anybody. So we know that the best ain't always playing. It's those of us who have conformed. Now we conformed, Mahmoud and myself, we conformed to our contractual obligations, but now you have a structure that says, because you have the thought that doesn't conform with the way I want you to think, you want to be independent of us, but you want to get our wealth. And I'm saying, I've always considered when I played basketball that I was going into a mine. And that mine, I was bringing out the resources for my people. Don't ever get it twisted that I'm going to work for you and I want to boost your, man, I'm in here because it's a God-given talent, and that's the one I happen to be blessed in. Now, when you shut the door on me, it don't mean I'm not hooping anymore. We go to the park and we get out. But we also realize the bigger issue is our manhood, not no game. And then I'm saying with our brothers that we're negating what sisters want to do with us by not showing the courage, by not showing the fact that we are in a position for the first time in America, brother, to have white men asking us what y'all gonna do.
Yeah, it's deep. And it comes from, just like you said earlier, when white kids, because these times right now, what we've set up, our kids have been going to school with the white kids. White kids, it wasn't a integration type thing. They look at each other as friends, almost equals. It's more the parents, in my opinion, that hold the grudges in the venom. But in rural areas of the country, they're always going to be racist, and they're going to do what they're doing. And so, just like you said, when you see these kids protesting, and the kids looking at the parents saying, "This is a problem," but I look at it from the standpoint of, y'all had all these opportunities to make it right. You had the opportunity to make it right. When Craig Hodges, you had the opportunity to make it right. Muhammad Ali, you had the opportunity to make it right in their era right now with Colin Kaepernick.
Right.
And everything set up. All the stars just it aligned, in my opinion, to be the perfect storm, because you had the opportunity to make it right. So you sent out the Jay-Z's, you sent out the Oprahs, you sent out the Gales, you sent out the Stephen A's, and y'all had our time to push this false narrative that is okay, just shut up and play. But then you had the opposition pushing and telling you shut up and dribble when Andrew said that. So that right there should do something to you as a black man at that point.
For me, when I looked at the position that Kyrie Irving took, it's so powerful. And that's the position that is, and see, what's so cold is that right now we are in a beautiful position, and I love it because It's the power to define who we are and build whatever it is we want to build. And that's the beautiful part of who we are as a people, is that we've built everything already. So it's not nothing new for us to do. So to me, it's the challenge. It's the challenge of, man, we getting ready to build a whole new paradigm. And it's going to be great for the world, not just us, because Dr. King told us this. He said, the eradication of the evil triplets of racism, militarism, and economic exploitation. If we eradicate those, we straight. And that's what is our issue. And everybody knows that if we settle the issues of Black people in America, the issues on the face of the earth, all of those gonna filter away, man, because we are the main issue, because capitalism started with us.
Yes. Hey, and you can find that in the book.
Man, they tell you every day. They just tell you nonchalantly just by their advertising. We bringing in all of these Black people, so it's so clear, man. And that's what I feel like for real, brother. You know, we won championships, and when you're in the midst of doing it, you know, you have a day off between the game, and that day off is so anxious sometimes because you so want to go ahead and do this. And see, when Detroit was kicking our ass, we knew we weren't ready, but we didn't know we weren't ready. We knew we were ready once we got to a mental point where, you know what, man, Forrest, get your ass up off the ground. Scotty, don't bitch. Get your ass to the free throw line. Knock down the throws. We ain't going to communicate with them. When somebody tries to talk to them, we're going to step in between and we're going to just stay tight. Once that started to happen, we could feel an energy, a palpable energy. And that's what we feeling now as a people, but we ain't never been free to know what that feeling is. But when you win a championship, now you know, So that's where we are as a people right now. It's a palpable feeling for me that we getting ready to win a championship, and this championship dates back millennia, and that nobody can stop it. And that's the part where it's like, man, we lost that first game in Chicago to the Lakers. And we was laughing in the locker room because we know ain't no way they can beat us. Right. Ain't no way. And we swept them. Same thing like when we beat Detroit and they walked off and all that. That was an honor to us that we've arrived at that level of knowing how to win. Not just happening into a win, but actually knowing, okay, we have a cold triangle system that can't nobody beat because you don't know where this ball is gonna go. Then we got that black cat who's perhaps the best player to ever strap him up. We know that y'all got to be up at least 14 in the last 2 minutes because him and Scotty gonna go get 5 or 6 steals if needed. So it's gonna be hard, and that's what we are as a people. That if you stop, man, we got everything we need to do what we need to do to show the Creator that now we are truly independent and that we free based on that biblical that you gave us. A freedom was gonna come, and now we're here to actually be a part of it. I don't understand how a brother can say they're going to go hoop during this time and not get with our folks, man.
Exactly. I feel the same way. And it's like, you know, it's not a time to play basketball. It's a time to, I mean, we have their feet to the fire. And if you allow them to get into your head to be able to say, hey, look, okay, go play basketball. So good. Take the mind off of the actual narrative that we're controlling right now, which is we have been an oppressed set of people, and we will protest for 386 days if we have to. But you need to hear us. You can't come back and apologize because you did that before. You can't come back and change the narrative. You did that before. So the axe is, in my opinion, the axe is, hey, look, if you want to change your ways, then we need African American ownership in the NBA. We need 2 teams. We need 2 NFL teams. So then you talk to me right now.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the critical part to me is, like you say, that if you really want to show, it's all about ownership now. It's not about giving, and that's the thing where I was telling people how you've allowed players to have so much movement. Yeah, you can go play with your homeboy. You can go play with your homeboy. Yeah, y'all can get together and go play. Yeah, you can go. Yeah, long as y'all don't ask for no ownership. Once y'all start asking for ownership, them billionaires gonna have a problem because those billionaires are part and parcel of a system that's oppressed you. So I tell people, McMood and myself both were ostracized at a time when Donald Sterling owned a team, knowing he was an avowed racist. That in itself should give the NBA pause to bring us in and talk to us when you're talking about creating a new environment. The NBA is so woke. If you're so woke, bring back and give us the bread that you owe for us to be able to do what we're going to do. Man, the year that they let me go in Chicago, brother, we had 900 murders. I had told people that if I get a $5 million contract, I can leverage $4 million to my people and programs in Chicago that can change the condition. See, we have a notion that it's going to be $1 billion. It ain't going to be $1 billion. We don't need all that. All we need is our energy. See, it's been a misnomer that it's money, but we create our money with our energy. That's why it's called currency. It's the current the energy that's coming from us that go out and mine wealth for these wealthy white folks to live in gated communities and then look at us and say, man, what's wrong with your family? Look, dude, you done killed our daddy. You done put uncle in the jail. So now it ain't nobody to be at the crib with the young man to raise it. So don't look at me like it's a pathological problem with black folks. No, it's a systemic racist problem that goes back to the fact that you understand your time is up and that 6,000 year period is up now. Now we free. And the only thing that's keeping you at bay is people like Stephen A. People like all of us who feel like just because God gave me a talent. But see, we didn't ever realize that in the 60s, your talent wasn't your talent. Your talent was our talent. And that you weren't leaving out of the hood thinking that you weren't coming back to the hood. And that's the problem with us now, is that we are so American minded that we are free. But you free to operate within their parameters, man. Think about trying to be free for real, Bill Cosby. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? You ain't free to operate based on what you're capable of doing. You're free to operate within the parameters that we set, as long as you don't get out of hand.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Craig Hodges, former member of the Chicago Bulls. So let's talk about this. In 1992, you guys win the championship. You go to the White House. You dressed up in a dashiki. Got your dashiki on. And you hand President Bush a handwritten letter. What was in that letter for young people who didn't know, who don't even know that story, which I thought would have been the most powerful message in The Last Dance, what was actually left out, because that was the beginning of a whole nother movement for generations to come. What was in the letter, and why do you think that part was left out of that docuseries?
Well, for me, once again, like I told you, man, I grew up as a baby of the movement, and we wrote letters when I was in elementary school to our politicians, to our council people, all of that. And I did that throughout my life, man. And the night before we went to the White House, I was playing ping pong with one of my homeboys, and it hit me. It's like, man, you got to write this. And then I told him, he's like, brother, you sure you want to write a letter to the president? I'm like, man, that's what I got to do it. And at that point in time, it was all about, those who are disenfranchised. And the message from me to him was that, based on the condition of poor people who had been disenfranchised, and especially African Americans, can you consider our issues the same way you can consider foreign policy? And many people thought that I wrote a letter talking about the war, and none of that. It wasn't any of that. It was about, the condition of our people for over 400 years. And if anybody is due some type of aid, shouldn't it be those who helped build this country? And, that was a part that, and once again, we weren't in the social media generation. So immediately I was maybe in the media for 2 days. You know what I'm saying? And that was just because it was you got the picture of the day that it happened, and then the next day, and then it's on to the next news story. So it was one of those things for me. It was the most important letter I've ever written in my life. And I'll make sure I send you a copy so you can post it if you like. So that way, because, if you look at the letter, man, it's apropos for today, man. And I'll make sure you get one. It's eight pages long. And right now I've been blessed that, I did it into a book. I did part of my book is about it. But it's cool that a group out of Britain have optioned my book to do a documentary and a movie. So it's and I've been in touch with Chuck D about doing some of the music for it and that kind of thing, man. So it's been a blessing, man. How even though MJ kind of, you know, they interviewed 106 people, brother, and I'm like, man, I was in the backcourt with you when you hit the shot against Cleveland. I'm in the backcourt with you when we lose Game 6. I got 19 points, you got 18, so don't nobody ever outscore you. Come on, brother. I'm with you, but at the same time, I understand the game for what it is. It's a game. And I also understand the bigger parts of the game from the political end, that many of our athletes take an apolitical posture. But believe me, everybody that ain't saying nothing in public, they talking about it in the locker room. They talking about it on the plane. They talking about it on the bus. And it's it's no different than any other business where you're going to have some people going to talk about certain things, some people to talk about. But for me, I was so happy to share information, man. So we'd get on the plane and I'll put in a Farrakhan tape. I'll put in some tapes and it would be funny to me how, from the outside, people would say, man, Hodge, no, Phil Jackson, Johnny Bach, Tex Winter, John Paxson, the weight coach, the strength and conditioning coach, all white people sitting there looking at the minister and they say, what do people find wrong with that?
Wow.
But they won't say that publicly. So it's been instances where I'm giving out information about what's going on in our community and what's going on from an end of our redemption and who is putting out information for our redemption. So it was across the board, man. So for me, if like for instance, one of the coldest people that I took on the plane one time was Jane Elliott, and her talking about the white, the blue and black, the brown eyes blue, man. And that was just cool to watch, to see how you can have people like right now. What's going on with white America is that for the first time, some of them say, "Man, I've been privileged," and I'm thinking that I've been treating them as equal. Man, please. Now you see it and you like, oh, this man, and it's hard for them to fathom how wrong they've been, especially their ancestors.
Yeah, speaking of the Farrakhan tapes, in 1996, you filed a $40 million suit against the NBA because of your association with Farrakhan. What made you file that suit, and did you feel like you were blackballed?
Oh, no question. And see, what made me file the suit was, okay, I called the commissioner, and I get a call back from the commissioner by a brother by the name of Horace Baumer. For anybody that's in the league during our time, they know Horace Baumer is the head of security. I'm player rep for all the teams I done played for. Horace, you come when brothers miss buses, brothers miss planes, when brothers ain't on point. Come on, man. Why are you calling me back? Why are you calling me back? I called the commissioner to ask him why I'm being stonewalled at every turn. I've got 3 consecutive 3-point championships and 2 world championships, and I can't get a team to bring me in for a look-see. And for those who are not basketball knowing, a look-see is all during the season. They're bringing in players to see if they could play for them, okay? I can't get a look-see after this. So I'm calling the commissioner at this point to say, yo, man, what's going on? And when Horace Baumer calls me back and say, it's not anything like you think, that's when I got a lawyer. And he says, why you getting a lawyer? Because y'all full of lawyers. So I need to get me one. But the cold part about the attorney that I got, I didn't realize that he was trying to represent players in the league at the time. So he wasn't doing no job on my behalf. You know what I'm saying? So the whole thing, when I seen all of this come out now with the thing with Donald Sterling, I said, man, this might be a good time for me to revisit the issue because I never got my day in court. It was straight up, and I'm just still a basketball player. I'm gonna put this in my lawyer's hands, and then I'm like, oh, okay, man, I see what the play is. So let's continue to go forward. And that's the beautiful part, man, that when something happens over there, the Creator always opens something for you. And for me, it was to be with my 2 oldest sons, that they were teenagers at the time. So now I went from hooping against Isaiah to hooping against my sons, and I'm putting it on their head to let them know every day I come to your gym to work out with you for high school, don't take it personal. And when we go to the crib, we can patch up your wounds, but I'm going to get you right now.
Hey, I can imagine those battles up in the gym with them young boys, because these young boys think they know everything.
No question, man. Big fun. Big fun.
So you filed the lawsuit and you claim that they blackball. You get these calls, and to me, that's no different than what happened with Colin Kaepernick. Absolutely. It's no different. I mean, because again, you got led by, our resident Tom, Mr. Stephen A, create a narrative that he was given opportunities. He was given all these opportunities. Obviously, back then, it wasn't nobody brave enough to get on TV.
And it's funny, like Stephen A was the first person I asked to help me write my book.
Really?
I was shooting coach with the Lakers, and I'm walking through the tunnel after I come off the court with the guys working out before the game. Hey, brother Hodges, hey man, I appreciate your work. Hey, brother, I'm thinking about writing a book. You think you can help me? Well, man, I ain't really got time, but I'll try to help find somebody. Okay, it's cool, but now I see that the creator knows what's happening, man. He puts you with who you need to be with. You know what I'm saying? So it's been a cool situation, man. Just being able to be blessed to see through a lot of the garbage that's going on, and to be able for us like this, man. This is so important for our people, brother. This right here. I remember, and I tell people how important our athletes and entertainers are to our community. I remember when we were with the Bulls, they were rioting down in Miami. Mm-hmm. And teams weren't able to play. But when it was time for us to come down there, people mellowed out. And that was so wild to me. I was like, and then MJ and them, they was laughing at me because on the plane, it was still up in the air. We were practicing 2 days before. Well, we don't know if we're going to be able to go down to Miami because it's been real hot down there. I told him, I said, no, man, watch. We got the black president. Watch our brothers and sisters do down there. Calm down. We go down there. And I say, see, when we was on the plane, I was telling the brothers, yeah, this is the real Air Force One right here.
Oh, ain't no question about it. I mean, when y'all boys came to town, it really calmed people down because the world just stopped. Okay, the Bulls are in town.
It's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? And everything that it brings. What you think about LeBron James' activism?
I appreciate it, man, and I hate that he had to be put in this position where he's put in today, where he has to be the main decision maker for the league. But at the same time, that comes along with the territory of them being able to promote you to a place like that. I appreciate him realizing how grounded he is to be able to bring other young brothers in to the business, to be able to see it from a level of inside as opposed to it being a thing where you got all of these white people, now you want to bring in people, and then he had them together from ground one, and I appreciate that, man. So, I just once again think that, he's been put in a position where he's almost the league himself, and that whatever he says goes. But once again, I think the rank and file of the players have to be united in purpose, man, and that's what this thing has to be across the board with our people right now is a unity of purpose. And that purpose has to be justice and freedom, man. And that we gotta foster those two principles first, and then we can move forward. Because until we get our justice, man, and know that it's coming. So one of the things to me about even going back play, hey, let's put a moratorium on playing until there's no murders by police or any other injustices committed for 90-day period, for 120-day period. And during that same period of time, we ain't buying no Nikes, we ain't going to the beauty supply stores, and we gonna put this money into the black church to hold it and see as a treasury what we can do with it. But I just love the fact that LeBron has taken a stand. I love what Kyrie has done, like you said, Dwight Howard, Avery Bradley. So it's a lot of young brothers that see how blessed they are to do what they're doing. But at the same time, I think a lot of us don't realize the sacrifices that came that we could make the type of dollars that they're making today.
Yeah, I mean, you know, his story, you know, and I've had opportunity to work with him on a docu-series about, you know, black men in America with the backdrop of my youth program, Liberty City Optimists, which is our 30th anniversary. So, I mean, he's a unique brother, but just like you said, I think he's put in a very tough situation because, you know, just no different than history when you see how outspoken Kyrie is, and I've had the opportunity to meet him and his dad, and you see, you know, the position Dwight is in and the conversations that they're having right now, you know, and guys saying we don't want to play, and LeBron is trying to be the voice of reason, and when I hear the passion in guys like Dwight voice, look, you know, what's the reason of playing? You know, we have bigger issues. We're past a T-shirt and past taking a knee. Adam Silver is telling us, oh, the remedy of it is to play, to heal the nation. And Dwight is like, no, we're past that, and you're gonna put all of us in a hotel in Orlando, all the teams together. How are we gonna go to war with other people? And then you're gonna put a wristband on us to track everywhere we go. And I'm sitting up there like, oh God, if Craig Hodges was in the room, if Craig Hodges was
you know who I wish was here right now, man, to give them counsel? Kobe Bryant.
Correct. Wow.
I'm telling you, I wish Kobe was here right now, because I think he would have had big influence on how this thing rolled out, even to the point that he might have been that arbitrating voice in between the league and players, because he was one of the main people that was, hey, Colin did the right thing. And that was what was, when I had a chance to, you know, be around him and coach him and work with him, his level of consciousness was there, where he would point out all, and I'm talking about not just in America, but he would be pointing out them injustices in countries that not a lot of brothers in research and to know about, and to be able to say, man, check this out, Hod, look at that. I was like, hey man, you know, it's just an extension. And it is, and he understood. So it would have been interesting to see when they would put a mic in his face, what he would have to say. And see, what was so cool about Kobe is that right now he's still close enough to the league where his influence would have probably even been more than LeBron's right now. And he would have had that independent point of view that would have been able to take some of the hits for the players, where I feel like MJ is in a position to do the same, but he can't because he is part of ownership. Mm-hmm. That he could be that big brother influence to be able to say, hold up on this, let me holler at the brothers, see where we at, let us come together. Now, these are the issues. Kobe would have been that sounding board, I'm sure.
Right. So that's interesting. That's interesting to say. I mean, because he was very outspoken, and he did it, and he moved in a different way. And I think the struggle that they're having, and they need that when you talk to all the different parties, it seems like they're in a difficult place, because, you know, they're looking at it. Most of the guys are saying Disney controlled NBA. Disney controlled NBA. Disney is ESPN. Disney is ABC. And it's more about them getting a bang for their buck, because they're getting ready to lose so much. And so when you hear these guys talk, and then it becomes, well, who's down with Disney and who's down with us? So sometimes you hear the brothers saying, well, LeBron is down with Disney, you know, and some of the other brothers, nah, you know. But I think these guys really, in having a conversation, because even having a conversation with him, I've had the conversation with some of the lady athletes, and most of the women, just like we talked about, if they had to play right now today, they wouldn't play. Exactly. They would vote not to play. And so again, you have the women being the driving force of it, but then we have a dysfunctional family of men trying to figure out who's selling out. basically.
Yeah.
And then you have this agitator, the ultimate agitator in Stephen A. that's not making it better because if you people already know, and that's why I was and I just to go back to when I seen the protests in Atlanta and I seen the young people jumping on the statue of the CNN Tower. That was so moving for me because it was like it was letting the idiot box and the people who think they control the narrative and they think they control African Americans stand up on this and say, you don't control us. We know we know you're not for us. You just try to create a false narrative, no different than ESPN tries to create a false narrative when you fire Jamel Hill, when you fire anybody that speaks out on black issues, and nobody comes to their rescue, and you think it's okay. You sit back, you really think you got us. But then now when something happen like this, no, you don't have us.
And see, and that's the thing where, I'm like you. When we research it and you look into Disney and you see, man, come on, man. Come on, dude. It's wicked company. So for me, and then to be able to play that divide and conquer thing that's so old and dead. And let them play you. Don't allow them to play you like that. Like, oh yeah, he's here. Man, come on, man. It's that same old thing with this is your block, this is my block. I'm a gang, you a gang, and we don't own no block. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I mean, hey, you when we.
But I think it's coming to an end, brother. And see, I don't wish no bad on nobody, but it was an incident during All-Star Weekend, right? This year. I'm born and raised here. I'm the first player to win a championship here. This is my home. All right, I struggled with the Bulls when they weren't winning shit. So All-Star Weekend here. Slam Magazine comes out with their memorabilia piece. It's got MJ on the cover. It's got his Unite on the back, which is my shit I did in '89, but that's another thing. And in the middle, they got Chicago's finest basketball player. And you ain't got Hodge in your book nowhere. Wow. And I was like, then, if that's not the cut, that's not the cutter though, brother. This is the thing. Me, Ricky Pierce, who's my teammate from Milwaukee. Ricky go down, he get his credentials for All-Star Weekend, tickets or whatever. Oh yeah, let me run down and get mine. I ain't got no credentials, brother. I ain't got no tickets. You feel me? I didn't get in the United Center for 2020 All-Star Weekend in my hometown. Do you feel me, man?
Get out of here.
So now, what was wild to me is that when I seen the Slam Magazine edition, my boys in the city, they go berserk because it's a lot of other brothers like Rod Higgins, Kevin Duckworth, all from the city. Y'all ain't got them in there either. So I tell Slam Magazine, yo, man, y'all, we got to holler. So now they let me do a little article the other day based on that. But my thing is that when you go to extremes, so when I saw them, you're going to keep me out of All-Star Weekend in my hometown. Okay. And then I saw Last Dance a couple months later. I'm saying, man, are y'all really trying to make it so that the legacy for my grandbaby, even if I wasn't no D Wade or D Rose, man, I'm homespun. You feel me? No. Them young brothers, they was watching me win championships. So the fact that you want to try to write me out of history, I'm not going to allow it. So I've been kind of soft shoeing it with these cats over the years. I ain't said nothing. I've been cool, but now I'm saying, you know what? I got grandbabies who want to hoop in the game. I'm not going to allow y'all to trample my legacy on what I earned, not what I'm saying I'm trying to inflate. No. I was in the backcourt with MJ to get to the point of winning the championship. I go have surgery, and then I lose my spot. How? Nobody's ever questioned how John Paxson got in the lineup.
How did he get in the lineup?
Question. And them the questions that I want people to start. How did I go from having more points than MJ in the last game against the Pistons, then the next season I'm not in the lineup?
Wow.
But I won another 3-point title. Then we go on. See, I won a 3-point title before we won rings. So now when we win a ring, I won another 3-point title. Now I got 2 titles and a world championship combined. So nobody in the game. So people, and it's like when Colin Kaepernick, they want to say, okay, well, can he play anymore? Dude, he's in the Super Bowl, man. Y'all got characters that won't ever even get close to sniffing a playoff game that's starting games. And you want to tell me this man can't play? But I experienced the same thing. Craig Hodges can't play defense. But Steve Kerr can play defense. John Paxson can play defense. Come on, man. Don't play them games when you know the reality is you don't like brothers to speak on behalf of their people in a knowledgeable term and able to speak to the hurt and pain of their people and people understand it. It ain't got to be, see, I ain't running. I ain't got to cuss you out to let you know the experience of my folks. So y'all want to try to make me this angry black man. No, I could take this heartbeat down to nothing and now speak to you because once again, y'all taught us English.
Yes.
You feel me?
Let me tell you, I understand, and that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to have a conversation with you, because I understand it. I mean, I live it in the music business myself,
Right.
as being the outcast, being the guy that's blackballed, that was never invited. I mean, I just got my first award 2 years ago where I was honored by BET after.
Yes, sir.
So I clearly understand how it feels to be blackballed by industry because you stand up to the what I consider as the oppressor. I'm the angry black man. I'm the mad guy after selling over 20 million records and half of them out the trunk of my car and looking at guys who don't know half of the business that I know, and I've accomplished more things than they can ever imagine, and because I'm just outspoken for my people. So I clearly understand it, and that's why I can relate to a person like yourself, and like I say, going through when I and it really it was. The Last Dance was something for me, to that was an opportunity for Mike, I thought, to really, cleanse yourself up, because I look at your situation. I look at what you meant so much to African Americans playing on that Chicago Bulls team, and the things that you were standing for meant so much. And I thought that could have, by telling your story so eloquently, and that could have uplifted so many African American players, so many African American people, to see just to just to tell that story. And so I just thought it was really, really important, and I thought that he could have took a bigger a bigger role in that. To not do that, I mean, to not put that in there was very, very important.
Yeah, one of the
not
things
do that was bad. And that's just how I feel. I don't know how you feel, but that was bad to not have Craig Hodges' story in there. We sat there and we listened to Steve Kerr's story. Okay, it was nice and touching, but this black man walk around with the dashiki on, who's telling you, hey, look, you have this platform right now. I just thought I mean, how did you feel about that?
Yeah, because see, my thing is, one thing I know about MJ knows diplomacy. He know how to be diplomatic. And I felt at this stage in our lives, we older brothers, I felt it could have been more of a unifying force. It could have been a unifying force at a time when the country needs unity, as opposed to it being a thing where you throwing people under the bus, where you throwing teammates under the bus who helped you get the notoriety that you got by either setting the pick for you, having your back on the steal that you jumped out for, or whatever. That within the context of what we did to win and to help in your legacy and help you build your legacy, to turn and then what was eye-opening to me about the whole thing, brother, was when he said prior to it that there's going to be a lot of people that don't like me after this. And I'm like, man, you went into it knowing that you were going to be an antagonist as opposed to a unifier, and that's what America wants from you, is to divide us even more. And that was just, to me, man, especially the way he did Scotty. I felt like, when you said the whole thing about the cocaine circus, I felt like when you said the whole team was in there and that weed over here, the lines over here, the women over there, I don't think that was cool for brothers who had played with you, who may have been at home waiting on with their grandbabies, with their children, getting ready to watch this, and now they have some explaining to do about which line were you in and that kind of thing. And to tell, Horace was the main instigator behind the Jordan rules, which is a lie. All of that kind of thing, man, it was sad. But at the same time, when I saw the way it panned out, I'm glad he didn't interview me, because that it was cool to see me in the background in the championship, diving on the floor for a loose ball, put my arm around Scotty, put my arm around Horace. I'm cool with that. Because we know that this whole thing is about MJ. And then when we stop and we really look at the career of it, man, we helped get him off, man. And there's been times when he could have got people off and he didn't, man. You know what I'm saying? And now you look at it and you say, damn, man, when me or Scotty or Horace or BJ was on one of them little rows where we might have hit 2 or 3 in a row and we come off looking for it and we don't get it and you go one, now we see why. Because it was about the magnification of Michael Jordan and how much you could, man, you think about it, man, how much money that brother had made, man. You could bring some brothers in on that. But it's cool, man.
Let me ask you, would you have did anything different if you had to do it all over again?
No, brother. Man, where we sit right now, brother, it's just like you.
I asked you the question.
It may be some things that, some nuance, maybe I might go over there for a party or something I might do. But as far as going to the White House, no, some things are like, and then my son went to the rally down in San Diego about 2 weeks ago. And he hits me, he's like, man, Dad, you know what? Now I see why you like you are, man. He's like, if you was marching at 8 and I'm marching at 35 and I'm getting the feeling that you got, I know why you like, hey, man. I said, yeah, you felt something bigger than yourself. I got that feeling when I was a little boy. So it's always been something bigger than me. It ain't never been about Hodge. It ain't never been about how much bread I'm getting ready to make. No, we having fun hooping. Let's keep hooping. We having fun on this study. Man, when I got to Long Beach State, it seemed like the more I studied about black people, the better my game became. So why am I gonna quit studying about us? You know what I'm saying? So when I look at all of this, when I look at how Stephen A. Smith can say we leaving money on white people's table, and I'm saying, brother, but we built the table.
You built the table.
We can't build another table. The only thing that these sports franchise provides us is a place to play. Nothing else.
If Craig Hodges was in the room with them young fellas and the conversation came up and said, okay, what do the NBA need to do for us to play? What would that be?
First of all, like for instance, you said you talked about Colin Kaepernick and how the NFL did him some justice a little bit or whatever. See, the NBA Players Association has a big role in this thing. So when I was blackballed, my union didn't support me. I'm still hot with my union to this day. All right. When I was blackballed, my union tells me I need to find an agent that a team owes a favor so they'll know that I'm not a bad guy. My question was, what did I do bad? I ain't never been fined. I ain't never missed a bus. I've been player rep for all the teams I played for. What did I do was bad? I'm a three-time 3-point title winner and a 2-time world champion, and nobody could use my services. So, knowing that this thing is racist to the core, 30 billionaires, you don't become a billionaire in America without being a racist. Let's get this critical. Let's stop that right now. So in order to start over, you have to, okay, 2 things can't stay in the same place. So what we got to do, we got to demolish that, right? So we got to demolish the foundation of it. Now, to me, everybody making over 100 million that wants to be an owner should have some ownership where they play at. Now, within that context, let's bring in sisters. Sisters should have some say within how this money is going to be divvied up. We got a sister, Michelle Roberts, that's the head of the Player Association. Never talked to her. Haven't talked to her yet. But would love to. But the union still owes me money because they colluded with the NBA not to have me in the league, as well as Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. So before y'all start any conversations about racism, y'all need to holler at the brothers who have felt it. So now, y'all, it's cool. It's cool. Y'all got 150, 60, 70, 80 million, and you scared to stand on black? You scared. And you got 50 million in the bank. Likewise, we don't realize that when this collective bargaining agreement is torn up, Stephen A., the wealth, if once again, we spoke about it earlier, brother, if brothers and sisters in America stop working for a month, 2 weeks, the educational system changes, the economic system changes overnight. But we've been tap dancing. Because we have to tap dance because we got to get our bread. But see, the Creator got something for America. All right? That's why a dust storm is coming the same way the slave ships travel. That's why hurricanes, H-E-R, not H-U-R, hurricanes are named after our sisters. Because that's what's coming back right now. It's the return of the ancient ones. They know. That's why LeBron is in the position that he's in. They know that it's a young brother that's going to be torn in between this thing. Come with an elder with him. Bring John Carlos with him. Bring John Carlos. John Carlos should speak on behalf of us during this period of time because he's the grandfather of protestation within our sports movement. He should be the one that, and now, if what he says should go. If he says y'all go play, if he says some of y'all don't go play, then okay. But it should come from him. And that's what we don't do enough is that we speak out of turn because it's an African concept that before I speak, I ask my elder, can I speak? And that's where we got to bring this thing back together because the NBA is, and I told people, the National Basketball Association has to open America up. If the National Basketball Association don't open up, America can't open because you got to have sport in America. If you don't have sport in America, you have a problem because people will concentrate on their condition and they don't want that. So once again, show you how important sport is, ask Richard Nixon. It was ping pong diplomacy that went to China. Okay? Yeah. It was Dennis Rodman that opened up Trump and Kim Jong-un. Sports has its interest in this thing. Now, we have never had this much power ever, as a group of athletes. What would happen if baseball, basketball, football, soccer, all of those African American athletes, as well as those who are conscious from other races, say we with y'all? Now the structure of all sports changes, where now it becomes if it's going to be a partnership, it's not going to be co-equal. If we are the majority of the players, then ownership shouldn't have 51%. It should not be that type of thing.
It shouldn't be 51%.
Negotiated, man. And I tell people, they know the power that we possess, man. And it's just us. And it's so funny to me because I know we're going to get the victory either way. They can go hoop or they can stay at home. We know what's coming, brother. It's storming here in Chicago right now. You feel me? And I know what's happening. And I told him in my letter. That was one of the things I told him in the letter. We don't bring weapons. We don't manufacture weapons. We don't have any land to farm and harvest poppies to create opium, heroin, and the like. So all of that is distributed within my community, and then you find those who will distribute it for you to the demise of us. Them days is over. If you notice right now, whether we want to believe it or not, the young folks ain't having it for another 5 years, Stephen A. It ain't gonna happen for another 5 years. And see, what's so heavy about this thing down in Orlando, down there where y'all at, you see how the COVID is going up over the roof now, right? Yeah. God don't like ugly. What's gonna happen when 5 or 6 players get it? How much is it? Look at this question. LeBron James, I got this question for you. Is the NBA willing to sacrifice your life?
That is the question. That is the $365,000 question.
What is the line? What is the line that says it's got to be shut out? How many people have to get sick, or how many people have to die? Which one is it? Which one is it? Because it's all about money. We said it's all about money, so we got to get this money, even if so many of y'all die. Is that what it is, or what is it? Because already, you seen how many people have tested already going down there. Y'all know it's, man, come on, man. It's a joke. It's brother, it's so clear. It's so clear. Stevie Seal.
Yeah, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. And for people to even push the narrative that these guys should be going out there playing, it's too, and that's what we talked about it early on. The perfect storm. The perfect storm is, and it's all, and I always say it's biblical. The perfect storm is to have us sitting in the house. We're in a pandemic. There's no sports. You have to focus on the issues. You now have to, you're educating your kids. Your kids are not being educated by somebody else. Now you're able to be there for your children, to be able to teach them the rights and the wrongs of just even the educational part of it. And then now we're talking about, okay, you have George Floyd. And now we get to talk about racial injustice in this country that have never been talked about before. It's like the perfect storm. And so with everything shut down, now we're in a situation where, do we go back and play? And it becomes, who are you with? You know, and you see it constantly on social media where African Americans and white Americans and Hispanics, they've already called out the Stephen A's, they've called out the Oprahs, they've called out the Gales, they've called out the Steve Harveys, they've called them all out because they had an opportunity to do the right things. We're in the world right now.
Yeah, you know what's wild for me is when I think about, you know, when we shorties and we hear things, we hear like 400 years of slavery and then y'all gonna be free. We was free August 1st, 2019. So now that's a different barrier that ain't never been crossed. Then I think about Gil Scott-Heron saying the revolution will not be televised. And you think about when he said that, you had major TV networks and all of that, which were programming. We offered a major TV network. So based upon that, it won't be televised. You know what I'm saying? And that is happening and it's not being televised because they media talking about some other garbage that ain't even relevant to what's going on a street vibrational level that's real to people. So this thing is so cool for me, getting ready to be 60 tomorrow, brother. At midnight tonight, I turn 60. So
that's what. Hey, that was gonna be my last question. How is the great Craig Hodges gonna celebrate his birthday?
I got some orange juice, man.
Oh man, I love it.
I got some orange juice and some cigars, man. I'm cool.
I love it. Hey man, I want to thank you. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on. And we definitely got to stay in touch, man. Because
it's on, man. It's connected now, brother. It's on, man. And make sure, man, give the White a call because I was supposed to go down there, but some stuff got mixed up. But we still together, man. Let that brother know he ain't by himself, man.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. I will. Ladies and gentlemen, Craig Hodges, world champion, 2-time, 3-time, 3-point champion. My brother. Thank you.
Rest in peace to George Floyd, Elijah McClain, and Breonna Taylor, and all the other lives taken way too young. Special thanks to our guest, Craig Hodges.
And as for you, thank you for tuning in to your Uncle Luke and the squad, and catch us next time. Many blessings.